What is going on, guys? It's Reflex here, and with the popularity of creating remakes getting bigger and bigger throughout the years, for instance with Resident Evil, for Final Fantasy VII, for even the rumor of Metal Gear Solid getting a remake for the PS5, and numerous other games. But what happens if Kingdom Hearts decided to do a remake? Would that be good? Would that be bad? Well, let's try to think about that. Now, for me, Kingdom Hearts 1 is my favorite game in the series. It holds the most memories, and I always have. It's the game that I go back to frequently. Now I know that in the community it is seen as the game that did not age well, with the gameplay being too clunky, the cutscenes and the voice acting, whatever it may be. Like, I've seen a plethora of different opinions about this game not being too great, you know, throughout the years, compared to like Kingdom Hearts 2, Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, it doesn't matter what the game is, people like it better than Kingdom Hearts 1. I know that there's a fan base for Kingdom Hearts 1, but I know the opinions that I hear on it. But for me, I'm too biased of the game, just for the memories I hold with it, that I can never have it be bad for me. Now, if they decided to do a remake, how would they go about doing this, and would it be good for, you know, Kingdom Hearts going forward? Now, for me, I feel like it would be easy to create a team. Now, obviously, with creating a team dedicated to a remake of a game, they've done this with Final Fantasy VII. Like, they have a whole team dedicated to that. They could decide to make another team for a remake of Kingdom Hearts, and I feel like it would be easier than a remake for Final Fantasy VII. Spoilers ahead, because I'm going to get into it. But for Final Fantasy VII, they're doing a whole reimagining of the story, and while that did get some bad taste for certain Final Fantasy, like OG fans of Final Fantasy VII, it takes a lot more writing and a lot more stuff to create a game from the ground up when it's as with the game that they did it with. Final Fantasy VII, obviously from the original, looks a lot different than what the remake is, and it's amazing what they managed to do. And it honestly, for me personally, it's amazing what they're doing to the story going forward. The story looks like it's going to be insane. The changes that they might make might just blow my mind, to be honest. But for Kingdom Hearts, it's going to be different. There's already a game that has a set in stone story. The story is very cohesive through 9 different games. Well, it's probably more now, but through a whole bunch of different games, the story is pretty cohesive, quote unquote cohesive, but it's pretty together. And if they were to change the story, they know that that would be the worst idea possible, because the difference between Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy VII, Final Fantasy VII is an established game that only has one game in its storyline, and they're going to make a remake on that to make it, they're just doing a reimagining pretty much. But with Kingdom Hearts, it's still going on. Final Fantasy has been it's been way past Final Fantasy VII. There's been numerous other stories, and there's nothing more to Final Fantasy VII. But with Kingdom Hearts, there's still more stories. There's going to be a Kingdom Hearts 4, probably more side games, Kingdom Hearts 5, whatever it may be, but the story will still go on. So there is, in my opinion, Nomura is pretty smart. So I feel like he would know that it'd be a tremendously dumb idea to change the story while there is, you know, still the story of the original timeline going on. So, like, I don't feel like that would be an issue, but that's what would make it easier than a remake team for Final Fantasy VII. But so you got the already established story for Kingdom Hearts. You then have the cutscenes and everything, the voice acting. You really don't have to get different voice, like, I would say, like, voice work done, because obviously with Haley Joel Osment you probably couldn't do that, and also with Kyrie, because Hayden Panettiere, however you pronounce her last name, I'm not even going to try, because I struggle with even speaking English. But they can't exactly do this with a lot of the characters because they've gotten older. They're not going to sound like their younger selves, but they don't need to. They don't need to add a whole bunch of different voice work to it. Now, they could add cutscenes, but for like the voice work, they can keep it the exact same, but reanimate the cutscenes. Completely give us different graphics, because I've seen some mods of people doing for like Kingdom Hearts 1 and the Kingdom Hearts 3 engine, and I mean, it looks wonderful. But imagine if they decided to do that for Kingdom Hearts, because one thing about Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2 is that you see the Derp Sora, our favorite Sora, the Derp Sora, where his face just randomly turns into a whole different person. And this happened during cutscenes sometimes. This happened especially during the game itself. He never looked good in game, but imagine if they updated the graphics to where he, pretty much like Kingdom Hearts 3, he always looks good no matter what. In the cutscenes he would look amazing. And just imagine if they decided to do that for a Kingdom Hearts remake. And now this is where it gets a little interesting for me. I feel like what they could do for a remake of Kingdom Hearts is make it to where it bridges the gap for newcomers without having to play all of the games. Now, hear me out. This is going to be a difficult process, but I feel like Nomura could probably figure out how to do this, but make it to where you could get almost a lot of the story, but only in a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake, a Kingdom Hearts 2 remake, and then go straight to 3. I feel like you could really bridge the gap with the Kingdom Hearts 1, and you could include a Rechain of Memories, a Recoded. You can include a 0.2. Now, they could do a whole remake for Birth by Sleep, considering that's its own thing, but they could include certain aspects of maybe like a 0.2 possible, maybe like some cutscenes that has to do with 0.2, but you don't actually play as Aqua. And then they could do a Birth by Sleep, because the thing about for newcomers, they could come into this, play Kingdom Hearts 1, and be in the same boat as us when we first play, like, who are these people? But they're playing it, they're getting a nice story, but they're getting a more cohesive story going forward than how we did in the beginning. Because for Kingdom Hearts 1, for us, when we first started, we see Mickey and we're like, what the fuck? Like, why is he there? Why is Rico on the other side of the door? What's happening over there? Who is this guy in the brown coat? Who is Ansem? Who's this? Who's this? Blah, blah, blah. But for newcomers, they'll see it and they'll be like, huh, they'll still have the same questions, like, who are these people? But they could establish a lot of points, like plot points, that for future remakes, then it would help a lot of newcomers understand the story more, if that makes sense. And also it might just make them more inclined to go play certain games. Like, for instance, they could include stuff from Dream Drop Distance into this Kingdom Hearts 1 remake, with the idea of having young Xehanort talk to Ansem, but show that scene in a Kingdom Hearts 1 remake instead of waiting till Dream Drop Distance to play it. You know, like, it's an interesting thing, but I feel like it will be very difficult to do. They might never even do a remake of Kingdom Hearts 1, but it would be a lot more beneficial if they decided to only make a remake of Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep, and Kingdom Hearts 2. They could bridge all the games together except for Dream Drop Distance. I feel like they could do a remake of Dream Drop Distance, because I feel like that game very much needs its own game, because it's so much to the story. Same with Days. They could make a remake of Days. 5 remakes at least. You don't need a remake of Rechain of Memories. I'm not saying that these games aren't beneficial to the story, but you could put a lot of this in the first game possibly, or even in the beginning of the second game, or just bridge it somehow, some way. Like, I don't know. It'd be difficult. I feel like Nomura would figure it out, but if they decided to do a remake of all the games, Jesus Christ, I don't even know what to even think about that. But for Kingdom Hearts 1, I would like just updated graphics, updated gameplay. I don't care where they get or where they decide to go forward with the gameplay, because whatever updated gameplay they do for Kingdom Hearts 1 in a remake, it would be way better probably than what we have now. Because what we have now, I mean, personally I enjoy it, but it is clunky, it is slow, it feels weird compared to the rest in the series, like at least the mainline games, and it just doesn't feel as fluid gameplay wise. But imagine playing a remake of Kingdom Hearts 1, but instead you have like Kingdom Hearts 2's combat, or even 3's combat in there. I feel like that would be awesome. That would be really, really fun. Then I would like updated cutscenes, like I said, updated graphics, helping bridge the gap, and maybe setting more plot points for newcomers to enjoy the story a little bit more, and maybe be more inclined to get into it, because they're like, okay, maybe I don't have to play all the games this time, which there's nothing wrong with playing all the games. I see a lot of people, at least newcomers, getting intimidated. There's a lot of resources now out there where you don't even have to play the new game or all the like side games to actually get the story. If you don't want to play all the games, just play Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, 3, but in the middle of all those, just watch the cutscenes of the games, or even watch Everglow's timeline, or even decide to I mean, there's stuff that you can even read now. Like, there's some books that bridge the gaps for you. So if you're interested, like if you like reading manga, then that'd be a type of thing that you could do now, where I think they have a whole bunch of things for Recoded, Rechained Memories, like all the side games they have now in the manga. So I mean, that'd be awesome for you. There's so many resources where you don't actually have to play the games anymore, and you can just play the mainline ones. But for a Kingdom Hearts remake, ooh boy. Let me know down in the comment section below what you guys think. I realize the Kingdom Hearts remake probably doesn't sound like something you would want, but for me personally, I feel like it would be awesome. It wouldn't hinder the process of a Kingdom Hearts in any way, because they could just get a sub team for it, and they could just develop both of them at the same time. Obviously, I think the remakes would take a lot longer to come out because of the fact that Nomura would probably be more inclined to continue the story rather than make a remake of it. But I feel like they could all kind of coexist and be in development together without anything getting hindered. I feel like it would be easier for newcomers to get into the series. It would even be beneficial for like even veteran players to just want to play Kingdom Hearts again. Like, I feel like for me, the memories that I hold dear to Kingdom Hearts would be drastically like making me want to play a remake of Kingdom Hearts 1. I will love it, because I mean, I just want Kingdom Hearts 1 to get the most love out of every game, just because it's my favorite. It's what got me into the series. It holds the most memories of me and my mom playing it when I was young, and it holds a funny story of just, it shouldn't have been a game that I ended up playing, but I ended up getting it anyways. But like, it's just a whole story. I have my story of Kingdom Hearts on a different video, so you guys can check that out. But yes, let me know down in the comment section below what your guys' thoughts on a remake would be. Do you want to see one? Do you think it would hurt the Kingdom Hearts series in the future? Do you think it would be beneficial for people to play a Kingdom Hearts remake? Like, just let me know your thoughts down below. But if you guys did enjoy this video, leave a like, subscribe, and you guys know the drill. I will see you guys later.